Senator Tim Kaine, who has oversight in foreign relations and other key committees. Senator, we know the president has been briefed on military options, but our reporting is no decision made, no military assets put in place to execute anything yet. There aren't even any aircraft carriers in the Mideast region at this moment in time. Would you support military action?
Margaret, U.S. military action in Iran would be a massive mistake. It would have the effect of giving the Iranian regime the ability to say it's the U.S. that's screwing our country up. Right now, Iranians are blaming appropriately the regime for screwing up the country. This Iranian regime has spent years focusing outside its borders on fomenting terrorism and aggression in Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Yemen, Gaza, instead of listening to the needs of its own citizens. And much like Syrian citizens finally threw off the yoke of Bashar al-Assad and that brutal regime without U.S. military intervention, it looks to be that Iran's doing the same. So let's celebrate their freedom-loving spirit. Let's keep up the sanctions pressure, which helped in Syria and is helping, I think, dramatize the misdeeds of this regime. But U.S. military action would just bring back the painful history of the U.S. Toppling the Iranian prime minister back in the 1950s, and would give the regime the ability to blame their own failures on the United States.
You mentioned Syria there. There was some, covert U.S. support. There was something in the beginning, at least, with that kind of uprising. Would you support any kind of help? I mean, the president's saying we're going to help the protesters. What does that mean, or what should it look like?
Well, I think, again, let's use sanctions. In Syria, the Caesar sanctions that we put in place in 2019 to punish Bashar al-Assad for war crimes had a real effect on the Syrian energy, construction, and other sectors. And when Syria chose to go a new path, President Trump, with the support of a bipartisan Congress, has reduced those sanctions to open up a new chapter in life for Syria. That's the right answer. But military action, we did not take military action against Bashar al-Assad. We have been engaged militarily in Syria to fight ISIS, because ISIS was part of al-Qaeda. There's a military authorization for use of U.S. force against ISIS. We've worked with other nations to reduce them, but we didn't use military action against Bashar al-Assad, and we shouldn't use military action against the Iranian government in this protest moment. Let's support these brave freedom fighters in other ways through sanctions, but not use our sons and daughters in the military to do so.
Just very quickly, when you mentioned there was authorization for force in Syria and ISIS, I assume that means you support the military strikes that took place yesterday against 35 targets in Syria. This was in response to the killing of those 2 U.S. soldiers and American interpreter. That's valid, in your view?
Yeah, it is legally valid. That it has long been held that the 2001 congressional authorization against al-Qaeda includes the ability to go against groups that have come out of or have affiliated with al-Qaeda that mean harm to the U.S. troops. And in this instance, ISIS is still a threat to U.S. troops. There is a legal authorization for the use of force, which is what makes this so different than the use of the military force against Venezuela or Greenland or Cuba or wherever the president wants to take us to war next.